particularly going after her wonderful half-sister, Samantha.
And suddenly you just have my mom, who's classy and quiet and there, and then you have the other side of my family that is just acting differently. My half-sister, who I hadn't seen for over a decade, and that was only for a day and a half, suddenly it felt like she was everywhere. I don't know your middle name. I don't know your birthday. I hadn't had a fallout with her. We didn't have a closeness to be able to have that. And I wanted a sister.
Well, in a TV World exclusive, the victim of those vicious attacks, Samantha Markle, joins me now to give her side of the story. And look, Samantha, we had Tom Bauer on earlier, who has obviously researched both sides of the story, and he's with you. He thinks Meghan is telling porcupines. But let's respond to what she said step by step, Sam. So she's trying to make out there that she has no form of relationship with you.
Well, that's been the rhetoric so far. And I think, I was never out there saying that we were close. We had a normal relationship for older brothers and sisters with a younger sibling. And so that's pretty clear. It was, we thought, my brother and I thought, a pretty normal life. But it wasn't until the time of the wedding when the media started to get to us. In other words, we didn't seek out the media. We were living our lives quietly and privately. But the media found us. And it seems as though as soon as they did, even though we said some favorable things in the beginning, the MO became, oh my God, they found my family. And in my opinion, this is what it seemed like: seal off the hatches so nobody can talk. And almost instantly, it seemed as though dirt was being thrown upon us so that if somebody did speak to us, that we would have no credibility. So it was an interesting phenomenon, and this vicious cycle of wanting to set the record straight, wondering what was going on with her, wanting to give her the benefit of the doubt, and still all the while feeling like we were defending ourselves against things that weren't real in the media and always out there. So it's not like we were out there trying to, it was very weird.
And what's so horrible about what she's done?
Meghan Markle's Netflix confessions shocked the world. But no one is more furious than her own sister, Samantha Markle. Now, she's fighting back and calling Meghan's claims exactly what she believes they are: lie upon lie upon lie. In her Netflix docuseries, Meghan painted herself as the ultimate survivor, misunderstood, mistreated, and alone. But Samantha insists this narrative is carefully scripted for maximum sympathy and global headlines. Samantha Markle, visibly furious, tears into her sister's statements, branding them fabrications designed to destroy family ties and boost Meghan's brand. She says Meghan has rewritten history to suit her image, no matter who gets crushed along the way. For Samantha, this isn't just a media spat, it's a deep betrayal. A sister turned stranger, a family ripped apart in front of the world. And as Samantha warns, the truth will eventually rise above the glitz and PR spin. Meghan may have won the Netflix spotlight, but Samantha refuses to stay silent, vowing to expose every lie upon lie. In this family feud, the real battle has only just begun.
Done in this TV show is she's actually weaponized your own daughter, Samantha Ashley. But finally, she did have to admit that she uninvited your daughter to her wedding. Watch this.
I don't think anyone understands what that very small comms team was dealing with. They just couldn't wrap their head around, and I have compassion for it. How do we explain that this half-sister isn't invited to the wedding, but that the half-sister's daughter is? And so, with Ashley, the guidance at the time was to not have her come to our wedding.
Wow.
Firstly, wow, what a porcupine. When that happened, also at the same time, we had found out that with my dad's heart attack, the Queen and King Charles wanted to reach out, but we heard that my sister said no. Similarly with this, I just recently found out, it's really sad because Ashley and I were on talking terms. We were, I thought, bonding after not speaking for a while, even though we did speak. I wanted my kids to be raised with their grandparents because I didn't trust babysitters. When I was dealing with disability and having to work, I didn't know anyone in Los Angeles well enough that I felt safe with that. So I felt like I was doing the admirable
because you're in a
thing.
wheelchair, Sam, and you were going through, and you admit it, you were going through a very difficult divorce, but you always knew that your daughter was safe with her paternal grandparents.
And that was the priority. So to weaponize something so sensitive against me to lie is crazy. But here's the story about Ashley. I found out from a royal insider that the royals did not make that decision and that Ashley was lied to. And my sister, in fact, was the one reportedly who told Ashley she couldn't go to the wedding. So I felt like she was manipulating my daughter, lying to her. And that's really sad because my daughter seemingly was holding a grudge and feeling like I was the reason she couldn't come to the wedding.
It's as if Meghan is now trying to turn your own daughter against you.
Right. And sadly, my daughter went on and had her own life as I'd always wanted. We weren't close, but we were forming bonds again, and that was really special and important to me. And I think she felt an alliance with Meg, but for Meg to twist that and to lie and then suggest that the reason she couldn't go to the wedding, to put that on me when that was not true at all.
No.
The royals weren't.
And by the way, what you're saying is completely correct, Samantha, because I've spoken to lots of my own royal sources as well, and they were always very clear. They never told Meghan who to invite to her own wedding. She had full control over that. But what she wants to do is blame the courtiers so she doesn't have to own her own decisions. Now, can we just talk? Can we just look at this terrible comment, and I really do mean that Prince Harry made about your father, Thomas, Samantha?
Right.
Of course, it's incredibly sad.
Sorry, guys.
She had a father before this, and now she doesn't have a father. And I shouldered that because if Meg wasn't with me, then her dad would still be her dad.
What? Her father is recovering from a stroke, literally about a 3-hour drive. I mean, could you believe that? She doesn't have a father.
No, and that was all lies too. And to suggest that at one point that they allegedly said they sent a car and he refused to get in. No, he was in the hospital with a heart attack. He wasn't getting text messages. And for her to allegedly say, well, Samantha must have erased his text. How can I do that from Florida when he's in Rosarito, Mexico? I don't have telekinesis.
Yeah, because they're trying to say, just to clarify, Samantha, for people who haven't watched the horrible Boar Fest, Meghan tried to claim that someone had intercepted her father's phone, presumably you, and that you were sending the messages on behalf of Thomas.
Right, not possible. He was in Rosarito, Mexico. I was in Florida. Not possible at all. So that's that's really far-fetched, and it's really hurtful.
Sam, has your father watched the series? Has Thomas watched so far? Because this must be incredibly hurtful to him.
No, we briefed him, but I didn't want him to watch because, like everything, it's lie upon lie upon lie. And he's been through so much, 2 heart attacks and a stroke. And she enabled this, watched it, did nothing about it. And for Harry to say something like that is egregious. At no point, they could have gotten on a plane just like they jet set to Paris and go have lunch somewhere or go to New York or go to the Ripple of Hope Awards. Why didn't they get on a plane and go to my father in the hospital or his house? And no, the paparazzi would not have hounded them. That's a cheesy excuse. They were never there. They didn't want to be there. And everything else was PR smoke and mirrors. So, and I think here's another thing for Harry to say and Meghan to say we never got to tell our story. Baloney. You were paying multi-million-dollar PR firms to tell your story the way you controlled it, the way you wanted it told, while you also disparaged and silenced others. So I don't want to hear we didn't get to, we're finally getting to tell our story. We've heard their stories all along. That's what multi-million-dollar PR firms do. So that is a lie.
Totally. Well, look, Sam, you know I trust what you're saying.
Wow.
I know. And I know, you know that I know that what you're saying is correct and is the truth. And I know it's been a painful day for you. So thank you so much for coming on and sharing your side of the story with the world, because it's very important. This is one side of the story in the Netflix documentary. And as you say, there's a lot of porky pies. So Sam Markle, thank you so much. But it's time now